Good morning, good morning. For me, maybe not for you. Maybe you're watching this late at night. I don't know. But it's time to talk about the quadratic formula. Okay, this is kind of what we've been working towards this entire chapter so far. So, the quadratic formula, we're going to introduce the quadratic formula by solving in example number 1, this quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So standard form of the quadratic equation, a does not equal 0. And we are going to solve this by completing the square. Okay, so follow along with me. Hopefully you are taking your notes. In order to solve this, I first subtract c from both sides so that I can complete the square. So ax squared plus bx is now equal to negative c. Okay. And actually, I'm going to solve this. I'm solving this for x if I didn't say that already. So now I have x squared, or ax squared plus bx is equal to negative c. I need to divide everything by a. I get x squared plus bx over a, or b over a. I'm going to keep that b over a as a coefficient, leading coefficient in front of x. It's going to make my next step simpler. Is equal to negative c over a. And now I'm going to complete the square by multiplying 1/2 times b over a. There's that leading coefficient in front of a, and squaring that, right? So that gives me b over 2a squared. Okay, so continue in completing the square over here. I get x squared plus b over a x, okay, plus my b over 2a squared is equal to negative c over a plus b squared over 4a squared. Make sure when you raise this denominator to the second power that you square both the 2 and the a. That's where the 4a squared came from. Okay, now over on the left side of my equation, okay, I have x plus b over 2a squared. There's continuing and solving my square, okay, and is equal to, I need to find a common denominator between negative c over a and b squared over 4a squared. Okay, that common denominator is going to be 4a squared. So I need to multiply everything, or not everything, multiply this whole guy by 4a over 4a. So that gives me negative 4ac plus b squared over 4a squared. Okay, now I am going to take the square root of both sides. That's going to give me x plus b over 2a is equal to this nasty looking radical thing that I have going on over here, plus or minus negative 4ac plus b squared over 4a squared. Now remember, I'm continuing to try to solve for x, okay? So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reorder this guy up here. X plus b over 2a is equal to plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Okay, take a look at that right hand side and see if there's anywhere that we can simplify at all. Okay, is there anywhere we can simplify? Well, I can simplify the denominator, right? Because that is 4a squared, and square root over numerator and denominator means I can square the numerator, I can square the denominator. So the square root of 4a squared is going to be 2a. So let me just simplify that really quick. So I get x plus b over 2a is equal to plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a now. And now remember, I'm solving for x, so I'm going to subtract b over 2a from both sides. So I'm just going to cross that out there since I'm running out of space and do that subtraction over here. B over 2a. So x is equal to this plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a minus b over 2a. Okay, notice I have a same denominator. I have 2a in both of those. So x is equal to negative b, that's coming from right here, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And I have just solved the standard form of the quadratic equation for x. And here it is. And guess what? This is the quadratic formula. So if ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0 and a does not equal 0, then x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. This is the quadratic formula. I will not make you memorize this formula. On your test, I will give you this formula, but you will need to know how to use it, okay? So let's take a look at some examples. So example number 2 says use the quadratic formula to solve x squared plus x squared plus 5x minus 6 is equal to 0. So let me just jot that formula down. X is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. All right. Now let's identify what is a. Okay, so a is equal to 1. Okay, b is equal to 5, and c is equal to negative 6. Now I can just plug or substitute those values in to my quadratic equation. So x is equal to negative b. So b is 5. So negative 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So 5 squared minus 4ac. So 4 times 1 times negative 6 all over 2 times a, which is 1. I know you guys know that's 2. I'm just writing everything out so we don't lose track of anything. So negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 4 times 1 times negative 6 is negative 24 all over 2. So that's negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus negative 24. That's 25 plus 24, 49 over 2. So that is negative 5 plus or minus 7 over 2. Okay, so that's negative 5 plus 7 over 2 and negative 5 minus 7 over 2. So negative 5 plus 7 is 2 over 2 is 1. And negative 5 minus 7, that's negative 14 over 2 is negative 7. So our solution set for x is not 7 because negative 5 minus 7 is negative 12, and negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. Okay, there we go. 1 and negative 6. Okay, so there is our solution set for x using the quadratic formula. Okay, so steps to solve using the quadratic formula: make sure your equation is written in standard form. Identify your values of a, b, and c, and then substitute your values into the formula and simplify as much as you can. Example number 3, we have 3y squared minus 4y is equal to 8. So step number 1 says write this in standard form. So we're going to do 3y minus 4y minus 8, right? Because we're going to subtract 8 from both sides is equal to 0. Okay, so there's step number 1. Step number 2, identify the values of a, b, and c. A is 3, b is negative 4, and c is negative 8. Okay, C is negative 8. Now, plug everything into the equation. It's okay that we're solving for y and not x, still the same formula. So, negative b. So in this case, we're going to have negative 4. So yes, that's going to make it positive, but I'm just going to write it like that because we're just learning and working through everything. Okay, negative 4 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So negative 4 squared minus 4ac. So 4 times 3 times negative 8 all over 2a. So 2 times 3. So that's 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 4 times 3 is 12 times negative 8 is negative 96 all over 6. So that's 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus negative 96 is 112 all over 6, okay? Square root of 112. I'm not going to work through simplifying that radical right now. You guys all know how to do that at this point. 4 plus or minus 4 square root of 7 over 6, okay? Can we simplify this? Yes, we can, because this 4, this 4, this 6, all divisible by 2. So 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 7 over 3 is the answer. And I would like you to just leave these in radical form. Do not change these to decimal form. Okay, so that is our solution set for y. Example number 4, everyone's favorite, story problems. Okay, a box without a lid, so this is just like the bottom of a box, okay, is to be made from a sheet of cardboard that is 24 inches long. So it's like we have this big piece of cardboard, okay? It's 24 inches long. It's kind of marked here by if we have these dashes going all the way. 24 inches long and 18 inches wide, okay? So here's this sheet of cardboard, all right? And the way that you make a box is you've got to cut out the corners, okay, so that then you have the flaps to fold up, right? So 24 inches long and 18 inches wide is our rectangular piece of cardboard that we're starting with. Cutting squares from each corner to fold it up. To the nearest tenth of an inch, what is the length of each side of the squares? So what we're talking about is this length, this length. They're all going to be the same length, okay? This is all of these lines that I'm outlining right here, all going to be the same length. What is the length of each side of the squares that should be cut out of each corner if the bottom of the box is to have an area of 265 inches squared? So what we're looking for is for this part of the box, this is the bottom, because all those other flaps are going to fold up. So we want this area to be 265 inches squared. Okay, so we want all of this. So how big do those flaps have to be? Okay, so what length of X do those flaps have to be in order to make the bottom of our box 265 inches squared? Okay, here is how we are going to solve this guy. X is the length of each square that we are going to cut out, okay? The bottom of the box, okay, I have, let me change colors, okay? I have an X here and an X here. So how many X's do I have? I have 2 X's, okay? So the length of the bottom of the box, okay, the length of the bottom, which is this right here, is going to be 24 because this whole length of the cardboard that I'm starting with is 24. 24 minus, here's an X, and here's an X, right? So 24 minus 2X, okay? Not that color. And the width of the bottom, okay? The width of the bottom, here we go. We have 1X here, and we have 1X here, and this whole length of cardboard that we're starting with is 18 inches. So that's 18 minus 2x. Okay? Area is equal to length times width, right? And we know that the area that we want to end up with is 265 inches squared. So take your length of the bottom of the box that we want at the end when we're all done, 24 minus 2x, multiply it by the width of the bottom of the box that we want when we're all done, 18 minus 2x, and set that equal to our desired area at the end, 265 inches squared, okay? Now we are going to solve this for x, okay? When you FOIL this guy out, okay, you get 432 minus 84x plus 4x squared is equal to 265, okay? I'm going to set that equal to 0 by subtracting 432 from both sides. No, what did I just do? Sorry, I had to take a look at that for a second. I was like, I am doing something wrong. Set it equal to 0 by subtracting 265. See, even math teachers get confused sometimes, okay? And that gives us, I'm just going to rewrite this, 4x squared minus 84x plus 167 is equal to 0, okay? Now I'm going to use the quadratic formula to solve for this. So let's identify our values. A is 4, B is negative 84, and C is 167, okay? So quadratic formula is negative B, so negative 84 plus or minus the square root of B squared, negative 84 squared, minus 4 times A times C all over 2A. Okay, so that's 84 plus or minus the square root of 84 squared is 7,056 minus 4 times 4 times 167 is 2,672 all over. Oh, I did 2 times C on the bottom. Oh, you guys, I have not had enough coffee this morning. Please forgive me. 8. Okay. You are going to end up using a calculator on this one. Okay. So 84 plus or minus the square root of 4,384 all over 8. Okay. And that gives us two values, okay, for x when you plug that into the calculator when you do plus or minus. X is either 18.8 inches or 2.2 inches. Do not give me this as an answer. Okay, do not give me this as an answer because one of these answers makes sense and one of them does not. Okay, which one of these values can x actually be? X can be 2.2 inches. If x was 18.8 inches in this situation, would we be able to make a box? No. So each square is going to be 2.2 inches in length. Okay, and there you go. That's the end.